And we're live. Good morning, everyone. I'm Polly, and this is Patty.
Morning.
Welcome to this morning's session. Thank you all for joining us. Today's session is all about the new release that we've done this morning.
It's a big day, isn't it?
Big day. Congratulations, everyone. It's been a work actually put into this release. Our initial goal for this is to make your job page work harder for you. Hence why the new job page design, Burnup Chart, and the create button. So we're going to talk about it on this webinar for the first half, and then another half is going to be a Q&A. Any questions that you like answered, we can do that from here straight away. Just before we start, a bit of housekeeping. I could see you guys are introducing yourself already. Hey, everyone.
Nice to see you all here, yeah.
Nice to see you. It's a big attendance here today. Very good.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, please use the ask a question area in here so we can prioritize them for you as well.
Yeah, easy. So post your questions there and then we'll come back to them at the end of the session. We'll spend the second half looking through those.
Sure.
But yeah, it is a really exciting day. As Polly was just saying, this job page, we've been a few different versions of this design we've kind of seen flying around the walls here. And so it's really exciting to see it finally in the product in front of everyone's eyes. And in case you haven't already seen it, if you haven't jumped into Streamtime yet this morning, this is the new job page.
Amazing. So in this webinar, we're going to analyze one job that we especially for you, so you can understand what are you looking at in here and what are the steps from here, where to create things and how to analyze where your job is heading.
So, I mean, first of all, what's the big difference? What have we changed?
First of all, I think you could see as an elephant in the room is this Burnup Chart in here. Don't you think it's the biggest change in my opinion? And you obviously don't have any more information stored on your right-hand side where all the job info is, but now everything is kind of on top of your job page. So it's quite clear and you understand what your budget is, how much time has been spent and how much time has been planned and where this job is, when this job is due.
Yeah, we haven't really taken anything away. We've really just changed kind of where all the information's sitting. And obviously the introduction of this graph is giving you a big visual idea in terms of how the job's currently tracking and how things are looking based on the work that you've currently got planned or scheduled. So maybe let's just dive into it a bit more. So what are we actually looking at here, Polly? What is it that I can see and what are these numbers and blue and white colors telling me? Yeah,
so this Burnup Chart indicates the time has been planned on this job and the time has actually been spent, time tracked on this job. So the blue area is the time has been used. So if you hover over, you can see when this time has been used and what, and whether it is over or under plan.
Right. So when we're talking about plan, I can see it's ideal there. And I suppose what that is kind of used as due dates of the entire job, giving me that line of trajectory and comparing the use time to, well, based on what I'd planned, am I kind of sitting where I ideally want to be sitting?
Exactly. So yeah, ideally, the ideal time is your white area on this Burnup chart.
Yep.
And the blue ones is what you actually have spent and tracked.
Cool. So it does actually look like at the start of this job when we were kicking things off, we were working pretty hard on it, probably trying to get a few hours in maybe before that Christmas break. Obviously, we can see there was a big lull there throughout December, and it's kind of kicked back into gear here. And we can see that it's actually due pretty soon, January. So I can see this little dashed line here as well, and it's telling me to do. Is that predicting how much work I need to do on those days to kind of get the job finished? I don't know what's happening there.
In here, the dotted line actually shows the to-dos that left this job to complete by this deadline.
So it's work that's been scheduled for my team. It's already planned, and that's everything that is looking like it might need to be worked on to get done. So at this rate, we're actually looking like all sticking to that plan. We'll probably come in under budget, which is nice.
Exactly.
Cool.
And if you scroll down a bit, you can see the view of your job page change a little bit. So the space is managed a bit more, better, I would say. So all the items that are in here. And if you scroll even more, you'll see this tooltip that explains how your job is tracking in a glance, in a way. So it's an easy way for you to, when you create more items, you can have a look on what's happened in the job since the start and how well are you going.
Okay, cool.
So yeah,
I
awesome.
can see Streamtime's kind of showing me information as I need it. My used and planned hours here, and we're seeing used and planned as a dollar figure here based on what these items are kind of totaling, which is nice.
Exactly.
It's nice and clean.
Yeah, if the extra item needs to be added, you can see that you are still tracking within budget. It's manageable for your team.
Cool. Awesome.
What is this plus button in the right corner? Oh.
This is the create button. Now, it's a new button in this screen. It's replaced an button, and it's blue, and it says create. And if we click on it, you'll see that I can actually do quite a few things in here. We've added a bit of functionality, but we've also just given you a place to kind of take all of those actions that you really need to do on a job. For example, when we are kind of creating a quote or an invoice, we won't actually have a button that sits here, but rather it will sit under this create button. And what we're kind of trying to do there is just clean up the information on the job and just show you what you already need to know about the job. But if we do need to create a quote, we can easily come here. In this case, I might actually create an expense. Perhaps we had an Uber out for a client meeting, and maybe that was just $20 there. You can see now that I've added that expense, it's appearing here for me to look at. So we're not really bringing you that information until you have that information to see. So it's being a bit smarter in terms of what it's choosing to show you and when it's choosing to show you that.
Exactly. And you can save a lot of time by being on this job page and actually going in, using that create button to create a quick to-do for yourself. And the best thing about it is also you can create a to-do for someone else in your team for this job.
So I might need to ask Danny to perhaps make amends based on client feedback, and I expect that'll take her about 2 hours, and I know she's got a busy day, so I'll schedule that task for Danielle tomorrow.
Perfect. So our Burnup Chart changes as well. So we've got a bit more to-dos plan ahead.
Yeah, right. So this one here, it would have just added a 3-hour task, I imagine, to her day there for tomorrow, the 27th of January. Cool. Awesome.
So from using your create button, you can actually duplicate the job as well. So as it used to be. Also, you can create a new job from here, which is a totally brand new job from one. It doesn't have anything to do with this current job, so which saves you a lot of time as well in a way.
Because before, I suppose I had to go back to the job area, but maybe I'm in this screen and I know I need to create a new job. Why shouldn't I be able to create a new job from here?
Exactly. Cool. Exactly. Awesome. And if you scroll down to see your items, you still see that plus button in here. So you don't actually go up. You don't have to go up and create. Yeah.
Kind of follows me where I go. It's a nice little shortcut to have, I suppose.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Awesome. Right.
So I think that's kind of it in terms of what we've done to the job screen and how we've changed it. Again, we've simply moved that data from one side of the screen to the left, and we've just improved the design. It's much nicer to use. It's really smooth, and we've also improved the performance. I think it's about 10 times faster than it used to be at the moment. So hopefully you guys notice that, especially if you are operating on bigger jobs with quite a few items and lots of data. You should notice some improvements there too.
Yep. And what is that trick that the guys in dev team, they showed us their little shortcuts on how to open all the items in one click? So
with the redesign of the item card, we you guys probably noticed this, maybe it was in December, I think we did it. We condensed them a lot. We reduced the space. We used to have a lot more information showing on the item, but we've kind of hidden all of that. But what Polly's talking about is that we can actually unfold all of these item cards to show more information about the job just by clicking down whilst holding the Alt or Option button on your keyboard. We can actually unfold all of the information about those items, which is really cool.
Yeah, and to fold is the same story.
And to fold back up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So obviously, from this new job page design, you don't want to, if you scroll down, Paddy, scroll up, sorry, lost my English here. You don't want to see anything in red in here. This is another indicator that you're not going where you've planned. Your job is, there's something that needs to be done around that job, or maybe the time hasn't been planned realistically, and so on. So you can make better business decisions by looking at this Burnup chart and at this field on top where it actually explains to you where your job is sitting at and where you will end up by when it's due date.
Right. So hopefully that is giving assurance in terms of understanding the job actually tracking. Obviously, before we did kind of turn these figures red when something was over budget. But if we do want to kind of look at that in the perspective of the job, that graph is doing a really good job of showing us that information.
Yeah, and you can see that we still have the contacts. Actually, they live underneath your company. Same story, and with the labels, they still exist, but they're just underneath the job name, and you can add as many as you like to group your jobs together.
And just as before, we would still click into our used plan to look at all of the tracked time. We would click into our expenses to see a list of those expenses on the job, and just click onto our quotes or invoices to see those as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's pretty much it on the new design.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Hope this was useful for all of you, and I think more time you spend on it, more you realize how useful it can be for your future, for the future of your business.
Definitely. I think one thing I just want to flag as well is for the second half of the session, we will be doing a live Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, not necessarily related to the job screen, the changes that we've made here, but any questions about anything in Streamtime at all, just let us know. Use the Ask a Question button there. Doesn't look like anyone sent any through, but
that's good. We're doing a good job.
We receive lots of questions every day, so this is a chance to get an answer live and immediately. So feel free to shoot questions through if you do. But one thing we can take a quick look at as well, which is kind of a quieter update I suppose we made, which was before you mentioned when I created to do from here, I can actually select a team member to create this to do for, which is really cool. But this isn't the only place I can do that. So I could also do this from priorities, for example. So,
and from your own to-do.
And from your own to-do screen. So in priorities here, we know that we can turn over a card and I can add a to-do. I can actually see that I still from here have the ability to create that for another person, which is really useful. So if you are a heavy user of priorities, you're kind of sitting in here to make sure you're on top of things, you're understanding where things are at. You're able to create tasks now for other people, not just yourselves, which is really cool. And the same goes, as Polly said, from here, I can actually change the person that this might be assigned to. Danielle is receiving a lot of my work today. I can see that will now go over and live on Danielle's to-do screen.
Yeah. Okay, so Susie is asking, what was the view you had for priorities?
Cool. Good question. So so for priorities, Susie, I'm not sure if you know what priorities is, but it's essentially a board of our jobs, and we have different lists here with different columns. So we can create custom lists, and these are just what I've set up for myself.
Yep.
These are kind of mapping out the different potential stages of where a job might be at this year. And just add jobs lists. So I can move them between these lists, and if I have another one, I can also just find it and add to a list. So
or create a new one.
Or create a brand new job as well. So priorities is a place where you get a kind of an overview of the status of all jobs, but defined in a way that's kind of defined by you. And you can see some information about these jobs. We have some options here. So we're currently looking at the job name, the client, any labels, use versus planned hours, the total versus the budget, the deadline, and the team working. And as we saw before, we can easily flip them over and take some quick actions from here.
Exactly. As everyone has different priorities in a way. So no matter what part of the you create your own priority board. So for example, here in Streamtime, we use priority screen for managing our pipeline.
Yeah.
So managing you guys and the future clients of ours. So we would have a priority screen. I would have something like qualified lead and 20%, and then 40%, obviously ending with the 100% leads. And then we move those jobs across as they progress.
Yep.
So we understand where they at and what actually needs to be done there.
Totally. And that's really nice because we've kind of agreed on that system internally here, and we all use that to manage our own work. And it seems to be working really well.
It does, I think so. Yeah, it's actually Patty's idea. Well done, Patty. We love Streamtime. Yeah, and everybody can see your priorities, and you can jump into from your priorities to somebody else's screen and see what they're working on as well.
Just using that drop down at the top there. Now, it looks like we've got a few questions coming in. There are about 5 questions sitting in here. Okay. So how about we answers out? So, okay, so I was trying to edit a job name before and I couldn't. Just checking if this is the button. Okay, Ashley, we might need to investigate that one with you after this. Sounds like it might just be an issue with that. Suzanne's asked if there's any way to amend a quote without going back to the job and having to create another quote.
Yes, sure. Go into jobs and your quotes there and filter. Example, if you need to amend them quickly, or you can find that job and go into the quotes that's been approved. For example, if you want to amend this one, you can go on and edit it from here straight away instead of creating a new one. But it's totally up to you. If you like to keep stuff recorded, so if you're creating more than one quote for a job and there are different ways of completing this job, you can simply just decline one quote and approve another. The reference.
Certainly. I think the one thing that's key to remember there is that the job plan turns into the quote, and the quote then remains kind of independent of the job plan. So it depends on, is it the actual job plan that's changed, or is it just the quote? Because if it is the job plan, you kind of want to take that step back, go back to the job, and make sure that this is up to date with what's actually needing to happen on the job. If you do make changes just to the quote, they won't go and push back to the job plan. So it's just a one-way edit system that happens there. So whatever works best for you. Of those 2 options based on what you...
Yeah, cool. And Nat's question is, when are you running an invoice, is there a way to update a message that goes with it without editing the invoice? So I assume you've created an invoice and send it already, and then you want to resend it.
So sending an invoice, if we're resending it, so let's say we've already sent it and then there's just the resend button, we won't be able to make it. We will really just be able to make the changes here. But I wonder if there is a way around that, if we can. Yeah, so let's say this invoice is sent. What you might be able to do, Lauren, or Nat, sorry, is instead of clicking resend, to go back and click edit. And it sounds like you've already kind of maybe tried this out. By coming back and going send again, we'll update that custom message there. So that'll be the best way to go in this case.
And the same with quoting as well.
With quoting, yeah.
Cool. Ashley, if you could send us some screenshots of the issue, would be great. We can assist you later. Okay, so Catherine, love the new to assign a team. If there is any chance we can do that with subtasks and the items as well. Great question.
Great question. The answer is no, not at the moment. Sub items that live under an item themselves kind of define maybe smaller granular subtasks essentially. So let's just say maybe first concepts, client review. So these subtasks, I mean, we can't really assign them to team members to work on. When we are scheduling, leave a note for our team member, something that they might need to actually work on. For example, here, I'm just going to create a task for Danny.
Again.
Can you, yeah, sorry, Danny, please get this ready for client review. Thanks. So when I'm creating this task, Danielle's going to see the note that I've just left for her. We're going to surface that to the top of the task for her. Awesome. Now, when Danielle's actually working on this, she can come in here and she can choose one of these sub items that she's actually been working on. So all she needs to do is click on the task itself, say pick me on whichever sub item she's been working on, and we'll pull that information through to the description field there. So she knows what she's working on, and once she tracks that time, you will too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that new feature, because then you can actually create a report later on and see how much time has been spent on that little item and the task, and what has been done on the full sub-item list, and whether anything completed or not.
Yeah, so maybe Danielle's actually,
completed?
Maybe I've marked that one as done. I can't mark that one as done on behalf of Danielle. Only she can do that. But if we then, let's just go back to the job here. We'll be able to see that that information is being carried through. It's being checked off and completed it, and when they completed it too. Cool. So Lou had a question, but it looks like Aaron's gotten back to it, just about information regarding the new job page design. Is there a way to change the order of the ones? We answered this one,
Thanks,
but
Aaron.
yes, we have got that one on our to-do list. Something that would be really cool. That priorities screen at the moment is sort of first version, but we obviously do want to do more work there. And so far the response has been really great, so we'd love to improve it further.
Okay, another question from Lauren. Has anyone raised the possibility of implementing invoice reminders? Simply resending invoice is not enough. It would be great to be able to change the note that goes along with it and highlight in the email that it's past due if that's the case.
To be honest, Lauren, I'm not sure many people have asked for that, but it's a great suggestion. I mean, Aaron's in here, and he's you know, keeping an eye on all of this, so that will go straight back through to the product team as feedback, which would be, you know, certainly something probably worth investigating, but it'll be one for the product team to decide. But not at the moment is the answer to that question. Cool.
Cool. I think we've answered them all. Just we've got this issue that possibly happened with Ashley, but we will investigate that further.
Yeah, that one's been answered. And what is the best way to print a job ticket if required, as when we try with the update, the print is messy? So Neil's just asked a question about printing a job ticket. And I suppose there's no real print button in Streamtime. It's a web page, and you know, we can export, or we can take a quote down to a PDF or an invoice as a PDF, but we can't really print this page. I mean, it hasn't really been designed to be printed. So I'd be really interested to know about exactly why we print that as a job ticket, what that's going to be used for. I mean, a nice little cheeky way of doing it is just taking a screenshot, and then you're able to print that. So wonder if that's going to be the best solution for you there, Neil. That way you'll be able to capture just the information about the job that you really need, and you can exclude anything that might be messing it up. I wonder if that graph's going to be, you know, taking up a lot of that page.
Yeah, even if you scroll down, just leave the graph off the page and just printing the whole tooltip information and your items. I mean, you can take a screenshot of that and share it if needed.
Yeah, certainly. All right, so okay, it looks like there's been lots of healthy conversation in that chat as well. So I'm looking forward to actually reading through that in more depth after the session.
Yeah, I think Aaron has been flying the guys, but yeah, we'll have a look at it later.
Yeah, definitely.
And Roger's got a question that I assume that the time taken on recurring job restarts every time you duplicate and create a new job, say each month. You can link all jobs with labels. Can you then get a look at the consolidated time balance over a year? Are the previous jobs, or do they have to stay live?
Whoa.
Wow.
There's like 3 questions in one there, Roger. So I suppose breaking that down.
Yep. So you can link all jobs with labels.
Yep.
Yep. So labeling jobs allow you to group your jobs under a project, for example, that lasts 6 months or a year, and then you can then create a report on using that label only, filtering through the label that you want to see and see all the jobs project. Yeah.
So exactly, in order to kind of see that information, Roger, you'll be doing it from this jobs view here, this jobs list, and you'll want to include your archived jobs, obviously, in that list. That way, they don't need to stay live, and you can still report on them together, especially saying something like a job label. I just know that there's in progress label be for your retainer or your project, and you can see that there are a few jobs here that are archived, some that are still active, and we're pulling them through all together with our totals down the bottom there.
Yeah, so I think that answers your question. Very good. Cool.
Nice.
All right, Lauren, is there after it's sent without having to send it to yourself as an extra recipient?
So there's no way to kind of get that link unless you have received that email, which you would do by adding yourself as an extra recipient.
Yeah.
But I mean, that what the client sees is essentially what it's just that it wouldn't show different to what you already do see there. Mm. The only case that might be broken is if you do edit the invoice, it will kind of break that link, and when you send it again, it'll create a new one.
Yep, cool. And another question from Brent. What's non-productive time? We currently set up a monthly internal job, but is there any better way to track this? So yeah, another way is to add a label to all your internal jobs, and then once again create a report using that internal jobs label. Yeah.
I just wonder, it'd be interesting to hear about what's not working in that process, what's challenging about that. I wonder if creating them on a monthly basis is more than what's needed. Maybe you could do internal for a 12. I wonder if that would be better.
But you can always go into your time and create a time report and find the job, say, internal job, how much time has been spent and who has spent time on each task for your internal jobs.
By team member or even by date. We can group this in different ways to kind of see a breakdown of when those entries are being recorded. Could be good to have more around that.
My boss is a bit old school and likes things to be printed. Okay, it would be really useful if we could print reports or this new Burnup screen to show certain people who prefer not.
Again, I'd suggest just taking a screenshot and you can print. Is going to be the best way to. I think.
Yeah. Agreed.
Cool.
Last question?
Last question. We are getting to 29 minutes. And we're clocking in with one final question from Roger. Is there any chance of making the discounts and margins both finite numbers and percentage? So, just on that, Roger, currently the way when we are looking at discounts and margins, are we talking about expenses here, or are we talking about on a job? On an expense, obviously we do kind of have the ability to add a percentage markup. So let's say a 50% markup. we're going to automatically calculate that sell rate there. So you can either work with finite numbers or a percentage there to kind of allocate that. But when it comes to a discount, I think if you're talking about an invoice, it's probably, we do just have the percentage field there, but we can always add a line item and subtract a cost from it. So let's say minus $200.
Yep.
We're just going to be taking $200 off the bottom of that invoice. So there are two different ways of kind of working there, either by applying a percentage discount or by just adding a spare line item, taking off, a finite figure.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers that question.
Cool.
Cool.
I think that's it.
I think so. We've just hit 30 minutes and I think we've exhausted all those questions. But thanks everybody for tuning in. It was a huge...
Yeah, and feel free to chat as well using that help button. If you just saying that with the new job page design, we're always happy to help and chat to you about improvement.
Totally.
Thanks so much, guys.
And thanks, Lauren, for just sharing that tip. If anyone is interested, you can set up Streamtime in Fluid. So it's just a nice way to kind of keep Streamtime as a separate app, kind of takes it out of the browser and onto the desktop. So awesome tip there, Lauren. Thanks so much for sharing that one. But thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
We'll catch you next week.
Yep. Bye.